Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to rank our hardest teams to start a dynasty with in this year's game. We took a look at things like previous recruiting classes, transfers, pipelines, and on-field success to get an idea of how hard it will bring this program to prominence. But before we get into the video, I want to give a big thanks to everyone who has watched, liked, or subscribed. You all are making this such an enjoyable experience, and I am super appreciative. On the last college football video we posted, we are running a giveaway for a free copy of the game, so go ahead and check out that video in the top right hand corner. And now that is out of the way, let's get right into it. So I briefly mentioned the criteria we use to rank the teams I am about to mention. I want to detail that a bit more before we getting into our honorable mentions. So we broke it down to 4 major categories. How have you recruited the past few years? This includes the transfer portal and the regular high school recruiting. How easy will it to be a recruit going forward in the dynasty? We consider how many other teams are around your school and how much talent comes from your home state. Next, we have team success. And for this, we consider bowl wins, wins from last year, and the last time you made a bowl. And lastly, we have the competition rating, and this is just how likely we think you are to play easy competition. Of course, you can change your non-conference schedule, so we looked at implied strength of your conference the team is currently in. And so from this criteria, we got our list of who will be the hardest teams to rebuild. But before we crack the top 10, we have some honorable mentions. We have Middle Tennessee State, North Texas, FAU, Ball State, and Kent State. For one reason or another, these teams fell to the bottom of our list. A big proportion of the rankings was in favor of the current team constructions, but teams such as Kent State, where they will need to compete with a handful of other schools in their home state, they got deemed even more and just fell outside of our top 10. Coming in at our 10th spot, we have the most secluded team of them all, the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. This team has long been the bottom dweller of the Mountain West, and regardless of its scenic views and beautiful beaches, they can't seem to recruit efficiently anywhere. They had the top 25 or worse recruiting class in each of the last 3 years with limited bowl success as they fell to our 10th spot. At 9, we have our first military academy, Army. Located in New York State and being only a 1.5 hour drive from the Big Apple, I would seem the Black Knights could find a way to recruit players regularly. But this is where the issue of being a military academy comes in. They cannot recruit transfers, and since students are technically employees of the national government, they can't take NIL deals either. So this severely limits them. But on the flip side, they have had decent success in their bowl games, as they have most recently been to a bowl in 2021 and have a winning percentage of over 70% in 10 games. Coming up in our 8th spot, we have the UMass Minutemen. This one was rather obvious and somewhat surprising to me since they didn't fall in the top 5. But since they are independent for now, their rating wasn't as bad as it could have been. With the independence, you can schedule whoever you want, so you will never have to face a team more than once if you don't want to. Like all schools on this list, their recruiting in both prep and transfers is very poor. They had the second to last recruiting class in 2023, coming in below at least 10 FCS schools, which is insane. UMass has long floated the idea of returning to the FCS ranks, but in this rebuild, you will need to quash those conversations. The Rice Owls holds our 7th spot. While the Owls have showed prominence in recruiting in the real world, in the game, you will need to compete with at least 12 other Texas schools to steal some top talent in the game. With hotspots like Texas going to be vital to gaining top tier recruits, everyone is going to come to your home state and be poaching guys from your board. Outside of this, they have had historical success, postseason success, but they have not seen it in at least half a decade and have fell a lot for that result. Coming up to the halfway point at number 6, we have our second military academy in Navy. For all the same reasons as Army, they have climbed really high on this list. The main thing to push them higher is the competition you see in the area in terms of recruiting, with teams like Maryland, ODU, Virginia, all within a car drive. It's going to be hard to get the local kids to come play. Breaking into the top 5, we have our 2 teams tied for the 4th spot, Florida International and Louisiana Monroe. Let's start with FIU. Florida International had moderate success in recruiting, with being in the top 25 only twice out of the last 3 years, or bottom 25 in the last 3 years. Where they really took a hit is not seeing a bowl since 2019, with also having an abysmal record when they make it. Another thing that hits them low is the amount of blue chip talent they have brought in Florida, which is pretty much non-existent. All these things considered, brought them into our top 5. Tied with them, we have the ULM Warhawks. While competition isn't as fierce in Louisiana as it is in Florida, the talent ULM has brought in is abysmal. They have been in the bottom 10 of FBS schools twice in the last 3 years. Along with this, they have never won a bowl game while only making a single appearance over a decade ago in 2012. To get them anywhere near the top of college football will be a tall task. Sitting alone at our 3 spot are the Akron Zips. While they have won 2 of the 3 bowl games, the last time they have sniffed the postseason was 2017. Along with this, the recruiting road will be harder than most as there are many top programs in their home state and surrounding states. So not only will you have to compete with kids at home, you're going to have to go on the road and have to compete with your neighbors as well. And going 2-10 last year in the MAC doesn't help your case either. Just missing your top spot today is a new team to the FBS ranks, and this is Sam Houston State. After amassing only 3 wins in the newly dismantled Conference USA last year, we had them at our 2nd spot. Sam Houston State actually didn't have a bottom 25 recruiting class in 2023, which helped them miss the number 1 spot, but being one of the new kids on the block in a down and out conference, your pitches to recruits will be hard to sell. Along with this, they are in the most competitive state in the country in Texas. Texas has 12 FBS schools and many top tier programs that you will need to sneak recruits from to fill your roster. Coming in at our number 1 spot for the hardest dynasty to rebuild in college football is the newest addition to the FBS ranks and arguably to college football as a whole, the Kennesaw State Owls. While making the transition to Kennesaw State actually didn't have the worst recruiting class last year, but the 2 years prior they were dead last compared to all other FBS schools and weren't even at the top of the FCS ranks. With a team constructed like that, it would be insanely hard. But more than that, you are based right outside Atlanta, which is the best team in the game stomping grounds in Georgia. There's also Georgia Tech, but Georgia is the big dog here. With all these things considered, they ranked at their top or near the top of every category and blew out the competition to make the number 1 spot. And that brings us to the end today, guys. I appreciate all of you who stuck with us until the end, and I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to drop a sub and smash that like button for me, and don't forget to stay tuned for more college football content before the game drops in under 2 weeks and going forward after it drops. Thanks again, and I will see you all in the next one.